And we need to contact some of these groups like the NRA and the people who hold gun permits. I understand that 1,000 or was it 10,000 people who had gun permits. Honey, the 10,000 people who have hunting permits in this county that did not even register to vote. Virgil, where are you? If you had those, just 1% of those 10,000, we'd have won this thing hands down. We're going to do it next time. We need some people to go knocking on doors to doors. About 40 years ago, before I came here, I was living over in Lexington. Many of you know Bunny Gunn, Charles Bunny Gunn. He ran for the state legislature against Baldwin Locker. Baldwin Locker was the old money, had plenty of it. And he bought that seat for many, many years. But Bunny Gunn decided to run against him, this old country boy. He was a lawyer, but he was a good one. But we went door to door in Rockbridge County, and Bath County, and Buena Vista, Lexington, and a few other places, and beat Baldwin Locker 2-1. So we need people to go door to door. And then we can each look at ourselves and look in the mirror and say, what can I do? And we need to get plugged in with somebody somewhere and do some things that will make these things happen. You say one person can't do much? Where's Jim Jefferson? He was elected by one vote when he was a member of the Board of Supervisors. Adolf Hitler was elected by one vote when he was selected the chairman of his committee back in Germany in 1927. So one person can make a difference. So let's make sure that we're all that one, but let's multiply ourselves by about 10 times.
There's an old saying that used to say what's good for GM is good for America. Like I said, there's an old saying that said what was good for GM is good for America. Anybody ever hear that one before? Well, my father worked for GM for 30 years. And the factory where he worked is no longer there. And if you haven't noticed, things are changing. I said to my daughter, who lives out of state, when my generation hits the finish line, your generation is going to wonder what ran over them, because the pyramid is upside down. You cannot keep paying into the Ponzi scheme known as universal health. It's a myth, and it's a bald-faced lie that people will stand up and tell you that the so-called public and private partnership is going to increase competition and lower your health care costs. You know, and I know, that's not true. When a business has to compete against an entity that is not obligated to make a profit, what happens? And that's not competition, guys. That's government takeover. The last thing you need to solve a government-caused crisis or problem is more government intervention. When you're in the deep end of the pool and you only got your nose above the water, don't start throwing me bricks. So we're about to go under. And it's an alarming to see as an American how quickly Americans are willing to just get on the plantation and forego their freedom for the sake of a piddly little government promise, which is mind-boggling. How did we get to this place?
All right, so you need to look at two things. One, you need to look at this. This is called your Constitution of the United States of America. It's already been mentioned up here. They're violating this thing 7 days a week, all day, every day, 24/7, 365. And this is the basis of your freedom. This is symbol, a wonderful symbol. This is what it stands for. This is your freedom right here. They're walking all over it. You got to know what it is. You got to know that it has legal limits and it limits them. It's called limited government. Limited government. This is it right here. You lose this, you're just a slave, a serf. You're going right back to feudalism. We're already in socialism, we're headed for fascism, we're headed for communism, and then it'll be feudalism. Unless, and our founding fathers knew this. They knew this. You need to get this and read it. Read it. It tells you what they can do and what they can't do. I even told you in the little slip of paper, the parts of it to go that limits what they're supposed to be doing. They're breaking the law. If this is the supreme law of the land, they're breaking it 24/7. We have to obey the law. Why don't they? The other thing you got to know about is the money system. You got to know about the money system. Well, there's also something there about that. Do you know the Federal Reserve is not federal and it's not reserve? It's an organization of private bankers that they turned over the printing and pointing of your money in 1913. You want to know the history of that? Go to moneymasters.com. Get this video. Best $20 I ever spent. 1995. It's cheap. But I tell you what, if you don't get it, it's going to be real expensive for you. It's going to be real expensive. It's already getting expensive because they're violating every net principle of the Constitution and a decent, legitimate money system like we used to have.
We've got to come together. We've got to get organized. And if we don't plan it and organize, we're going to fail. We're going to lose everything. But you know what the language of a patriot is? It's a battle cry. Biblically, I believe, as it was with Germany and Zimbabwe, Germany hit like we're hitting that in 1933. 5 years later, they were experiencing 100% hyperinflation. Hyperinflation, which meant that the housewives would go to the factories and get their husbands' paychecks and take them and buy food before the 5 o'clock hour because they were experiencing 100% per week or month. It didn't matter. They hit hyperinflation where money was worth nothing, bonds was worth nothing, nothing was worth nothing. And folks, you can stone me if you want to, if it doesn't come true. Next, in the fall, we're starting to hit inflation. More inflation, more inflation. When we hit hyperinflation, now listen to me carefully. When we hit hyperinflation, our money's not going to be worth anything. Our stock's not going to be worth anything. Our home, the value. Then the global economy will become globalization, and you'll be saying, what can we do? What can we do? And the one world money system will take over. If you know anything about the Bible, the one world money system is where we're going. The goal is globalization. The goal is one world government. In fact, the first man that I heard say world government was President Bush the first. But that's where we're going. So you and I have got to be informed. Let's educate one another. Let's get together in groups and talk and educate and think and come together to pray and to work. Let's lobby Congress. Let's lobby Congress. Let's lobby Congress. Well, thank you for listening.